Hello, I am Mike.
Hello, I am Lily. Welcome to English Podcast Flow.
Today, we're diving into a topic that we know a lot of our listeners struggle with, and that's understanding English really well, but finding it really difficult to actually speak it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get so many messages from you all sharing this struggle, and we totally get it, you know?
Have to.
It can be so disheartening when you can understand, but you're stuck in this listening-only mode,
Right.
especially when you have so much you want to say.
It's like all these thoughts and ideas are in your head, but then the words just get stuck somewhere between your brain and your mouth, like a
Yeah.
bottleneck.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a common problem for language learners, though. But we're here to help you.
Yeah.
You're not alone in this. And today we're going to be exploring the reasons why this happens.
Right.
And more importantly, we're going to give you some practical tips and exercises that you can start using right away.
Yeah, to help you move beyond just understanding and towards speaking English more confidently. So before we jump into the solutions, let's take a second to understand why this gap between understanding and speaking exists in the first place.
Okay.
You know, when you think about it, listening is kind of a passive skill. You know, you're listening to someone speak. You're mostly focused on recognizing the words and trying to get the general meaning of what they're saying.
Right. You don't have to actively construct sentences or worry about pronouncing every single word perfectly.
Right.
It's like when you're watching a movie or listening to music, you can just sit back, relax, and absorb it all. You're not really required to actively participate or produce anything.
Right.
But speaking, on the other hand, is a much more active skill.
Yes.
You have to be more engaged when you speak. You have to recall vocabulary.
Yeah.
You're putting together grammatically correct sentences, and you're making the right sounds all at the same time.
Right.
While you're also trying to stay focused on what you want to communicate.
Right.
So it's no wonder that a lot of learners just feel overwhelmed and kind of freeze up when they have to speak.
Yeah, it's like learning to dance. You know, watching someone else dance gracefully is one thing. But when you step onto the dance floor yourself,
Yeah.
suddenly you have to coordinate your movements, remember all the steps, and express yourself rhythmically,
Right.
all while trying not to trip over your own feet.
Exactly. And then on top of all that, you've got the fear of making mistakes,
Right.
which can be super paralyzing.
Yeah.
Many learners are worried about being judged or sounding foolish if they make a mistake in grammar or pronunciation.
Right.
And this fear can actually hold people back from speaking at all,
Yeah.
even when they have a pretty good understanding of the language.
Yeah, fear is a powerful emotion, and it's totally understandable to feel a little apprehensive
Yeah.
about speaking a new language.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Everyone makes mistakes when they're learning.
Yeah.
And it's really important to actually embrace those mistakes
Mhm.
as opportunities to learn. You know, even native speakers
Oh, yeah, all the time.
make grammatical errors sometimes. And it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
The world doesn't end. You know, so try to see mistakes as signposts on your language learning journey. They're showing you where you need to focus your attention
Yeah.
and where you need to practice more.
It's feedback.
Right. Exactly. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just try to think of them as stepping stones towards fluency.
Like you were saying, it's like when you're learning to ride a bike,
Yeah?
you're going to fall off a few times.
Yeah.
You'll scrape your knees. You'll get frustrated. But the important thing is to get back on that bike and keep practicing.
Right.
And slowly, you'll build up your confidence and your skills.
Exactly. The more you practice speaking English, even with mistakes, the better you'll get.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some techniques that can help you overcome this fear of speaking
Okay.
and build up your fluency.
That was good.
I think one of the biggest hurdles language learners face is this pressure to speak perfectly with perfect grammar
Yes.
and perfect pronunciation.
To sound like a native speaker.
Right.
But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. And it's not necessary for effective communication.
Right.
Think about it. Native speakers don't analyze every sentence for grammatical accuracy.
Yeah.
And they certainly don't spend hours practicing pronunciation.
Right.
They just want to get their message across clearly
Right.
and efficiently. And that's what you should be focusing on too.
Yeah.
Don't let the fear of not being perfect stop you from expressing yourself.
Right.
Imagine you're in a restaurant and you're really hungry.
Yep.
You might just blurt out, "Me want food," which is a grammatically incorrect sentence.
Yeah.
But the waiter will still understand you.
Yeah, of course.
The point is, communication is about conveying meaning.
Yes.
And that's what you should be focusing on when you speak English.
Exactly. Don't let perfect grammar and pronunciation become roadblocks to your language learning journey.
Yeah.
Instead, focus on the joy of connecting with others, expressing your ideas,
Right.
and participating in conversations.
I think another common problem that learners have is the habit of translating everything from their native language to English before they speak.
Oh, yeah. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I remember when I was learning Spanish, I would always get stuck in this mental loop of translating back and forth.
Yeah.
And it would totally disrupt the flow of conversation.
It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake.
Right.
You're not going to get very far.
No.
When you translate word for word, you're essentially forcing your brain to do double the work.
Yeah.
And that can make you mentally tired.
Right.
And it really hinders your fluency.
Yeah, it's like juggling while riding a unicycle.
Right.
It's just too much.
Way too much for your brain to handle.
Yeah. So how do we break free from this translation trap
Yeah, that's the question.
and start thinking in English more naturally?
Right. How do we actually rewire our brains to do that?
What are some steps we can take?
Well, one really effective technique is called real-time description. And it's all about bringing English into your everyday life in a really practical way.
Okay.
So as you go about your day, try to describe your actions out loud in English,
Okay.
even if it's just simple sentences. Like, for example, you could say, I'm walking to the kitchen,
Right.
or I'm making a cup of coffee.
Right.
It might feel a little bit silly at first,
Yeah.
but trust me, it's really powerful.
It's like you're creating a mental soundtrack to your daily activities.
Yeah,
But instead of music, it's English narration.
exactly.
So by verbalizing your actions,
Yeah.
you're actively engaging with the language.
Yes.
And you're making it a part of your actual lived experience.
And you're training your brain to think in English without even realizing it,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Exactly. And the more you practice thinking in English, the easier and more natural it will become to actually speak it.
Right. Another important element of speaking fluently is being able to respond quickly and spontaneously
Right.
without overthinking every word and grammar rule. And this is where the idea of speaking without overthinking comes in.
Okay, now that sounds a little counterintuitive
Yeah,
because we've been talking about how speaking does require you to think actively.
right.
But I'm listening.
Yeah, so sometimes when we try to construct perfect sentences in our head,
Yeah.
it can actually backfire
Right?
because when we get too caught up in grammar rules
Right.
and trying to find the perfect words,
Yeah.
we can lose our train of thought and hesitate, and that can really hinder the natural flow of conversation.
Right. It's like trying to write a perfect poem in your head before you even put pen to paper.
Yes, exactly.
You might get so caught up in finding the perfect rhyme or the best metaphor that you lose that initial inspiration
Right.
and the raw emotion.
Right.
That makes poetry so powerful.
Exactly. Sometimes the best way to speak fluently is to just let the words come out naturally
Right.
without trying to censor yourself or aim for perfection.
Okay, so it's more about training your brain to react quickly and intuitively
Yes.
in English,
Yeah.
like a tennis player, effortlessly volleying the ball back and forth.
Yeah. It's about developing that sense of timing and rhythm in conversation.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So how can we practice this?
We can practice this through a fun exercise called rapid fire question and answer.
Right.
So basically, I'm going to ask you a simple question,
Okay.
and you try to answer immediately without thinking too much.
Okay, I'm ready. Bring on the questions. I'm ready to flex these spontaneous speaking muscles.
All right. What is your favorite color?
Blue. Okay, your turn. Hit me with a question.
Okay. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had a bagel with cream cheese.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this.
You're getting it.
It's about training our brains to think and speak fast, like a mental sprint.
Yes.
But what about when you just can't find the right words to express yourself?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I feel like my vocabulary just isn't big enough
That's a really good point.
to articulate my thoughts effectively.
And it brings us to another important element of confident speaking,
Okay?
building a solid vocabulary. Now, obviously, you don't need to memorize the entire dictionary,
Right.
but having a wider range of vocabulary available to you can really make you feel more confident
Yeah.
and more articulate in conversations.
So how do we actually expand our vocabulary
Yeah.
in a way that's both effective and fun?
Right.
Because I'm not a big fan of just rote memorization or staring at lists of words for hours.
Nobody is.
You know, there has to be a better way
There is.
to learn new words and actually remember them.
Yeah, rote memorization can be super boring,
Yes.
and it's not very effective in the long run.
Right.
The key is to make vocabulary learning an active and engaging process.
Right.
We need to go beyond simply recognizing words And we need to really understand the nuances, their connotations, and their practical applications in different contexts.
Right. It's like the difference between knowing the name of a plant and actually understanding its growth cycle, its preferred soil conditions, and its potential uses in gardening or herbal remedies. The more deeply you understand something, the more likely you are to remember it.
Yes.
And to actually use it effectively.
So we're going to explore some fun and creative techniques for expanding your vocabulary.
Okay.
That'll make it feel less like a chore.
Yeah.
And more like an adventure.
I like that. Are you ready to go on a vocabulary voyage with us?
Let's set sail.
All right, let's do it.
So one of the most effective ways to expand your vocabulary is to focus on themes or topics that you're genuinely interested in.
Okay.
Like if you're really passionate about cooking, you could immerse yourself in English language, cooking shows, recipe blogs, or culinary magazines.
Right.
And you'll naturally come across a whole bunch of vocabulary related to ingredients, techniques, flavors, cuisines from all over the world.
That's a great idea. I actually love watching cooking competitions on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And I've picked up some pretty interesting culinary terms along the way.
I bet.
Words like sauté, deglaze, emulsify.
Those are good ones.
Yeah, they've become part of my regular vocabulary now.
Awesome. And I can even use them confidently in conversations.
And if you're a film enthusiast, you can watch English language movies and TV shows with subtitles.
Right.
Pay attention to the dialogue and how different characters express themselves. You'll come across a wide range of vocabulary related to emotions, relationships, conflicts, everyday situations.
Yeah.
All within a really engaging and entertaining context.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of documentaries.
Oh, cool.
And I found that those are a great way to learn vocabulary related to specific subjects, whether it's history, science, nature, technology.
Absolutely.
The narration is usually very clear and well articulated, and the visuals really help to reinforce the meaning of the new words.
For sure. And don't forget about the power of reading.
Right.
Choose books, articles, blogs in English that are about things you're interested in.
Right.
And really make a conscious effort to notice new words and phrases that you come across. You could even keep a vocabulary journal.
Where you write down interesting words, their definitions, example sentences, even personal connections or reflections.
I love that idea of a vocabulary journal.
Yeah.
It's like creating your own personal dictionary.
Yes.
Of words that have really resonated with you.
That have meaning for you.
Yeah, and it's a much more meaningful and memorable way to learn vocabulary than just flipping through a generic dictionary.
So remember, the key is to make vocabulary learning an active and enjoyable process.
Oh.
Don't be afraid to experiment with different methods. Find what works best for you. And most importantly, have fun with it.
Right.
Now let's move on to some specific speaking exercises that can help you build fluency and confidence.
Sounds good.
One technique that we've talked about before is shadowing.
Right.
Which is basically the art of becoming a language chameleon.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It perfectly captures the idea of shadowing. You know, mimicking the sounds, the rhythms, the intonation patterns of native speakers.
Blending in.
Yeah, almost like you're blending into their speech.
Like a chameleon trying to match its surroundings.
Exactly.
So with shadowing, you listen to a native English speaker.
Okay.
And you repeat what they say as closely as possible.
Right.
Paying attention to their pronunciation, intonation, even their pauses and breaths.
Okay.
It might feel a little awkward at first.
Yeah.
But it's a really great way to internalize the natural flow of English speech.
Yeah, it's like learning to dance by watching a professional dancer.
Yes.
And trying to mirror their movements.
Exactly.
You know, you might not get it perfect right away.
Right.
But with practice, you'll start to move more gracefully and rhythmically.
Just like the dancer.
Just like the dancer.
And just like dancing, shadowing requires focus and attention to detail.
Yes.
You really need to pay attention to how the speaker stresses certain words, the little inflections in their voice, the overall rhythm of their speech.
Right.
It's like fine-tuning the musical instrument. You need to listen carefully and adjust your own sound to match the speaker.
Right. And the great thing about shadowing is that it helps you develop this intuitive sense of how English is actually spoken naturally without getting bogged down in all the grammar rules or vocabulary lists.
It's like learning to swim by jumping in the pool.
Yeah.
And figuring it out as you go.
Right.
Rather than studying diagrams and memorizing all the different techniques.
Yeah, you're learning by doing.
Exactly. Shadowing helps you bypass the analytical part of your brain and tap into the more intuitive, experiential side of language learning.
Right.
It's like riding a bike. Once you get the feel for it, it becomes second nature.
Right. It just clicks.
Now, another technique we talked about earlier is the mirror method, which might sound a little silly.
It does sound a little silly.
But it's really effective.
Yeah.
I have to admit, the first time I heard about talking to myself in the mirror, I thought it was kind of strange.
Yeah, me too.
But then I tried it,
Yeah.
and I was surprised by how helpful it actually was. Yeah, it really does help you get comfortable hearing your own voice speaking English. And it helps you identify areas where you might need to work on your pronunciation or your fluency.
It's like giving yourself a private English lesson.
Exactly.
With a very patient and non-judgmental teacher.
Yourself. Exactly.
The mirror gives you that instant visual feedback so you can see how you're forming the words, your facial expressions, even how you're projecting your voice.
It's like having your own personal language coach.
Yeah.
Right there in your bathroom.
And you can use the mirror method.
Oh, yeah.
To practice all sorts of different speaking scenarios.
Exactly.
You know, imagine yourself giving a presentation.
Yeah.
Having a conversation with a friend, ordering food at a restaurant.
You got it.
Or even just describing your surroundings.
It's a mental rehearsal for real-life situations.
Exactly. And it helps you build confidence and fluency in a safe and comfortable environment.
In your own time, at your own pace.
Exactly. You could even use props to make it more interactive and engaging.
Absolutely. Like if you're practicing ordering food, you can use a menu from your favorite restaurant and pretend to place an order while looking in the mirror.
I love that idea.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
Yeah. It's about making speaking practice feel less like a chore.
Yes.
And more like a fun and interactive game.
Exactly.
Speaking of making practice enjoyable, let's go back to those daily speaking challenges.
Sure.
You know, these are those short, bite-sized exercises that you can easily incorporate into your daily routine.
Exactly.
Just to make sure you're getting some consistent speaking practice in.
Even if you only have a few minutes.
Even if you only have a few minutes to spare.
The key is to be consistent.
Right. These challenges are designed to be really accessible and adaptable. So you can choose activities that fit your interests and lifestyle.
Like we mentioned before, describing the weather each morning in English. That's a good one to start your day with a bit of speaking practice. But there are so many other things you can do.
Right. Like what are some other examples?
You could try narrating your actions as you're going about your day.
Okay.
Like when you're making breakfast, getting dressed, commuting to work.
Okay.
It's like giving yourself a running commentary of your life.
I like that.
But in English.
In English, of course.
It's a really fun way to practice vocabulary related to everyday things and to get used to thinking in English on the fly.
I like that. And if you're feeling a bit more adventurous, you could always try striking up a conversation with a stranger in English.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe at a coffee shop, a bookstore, or even just at the park.
It doesn't have to be a long conversation. Just a simple exchange like, good morning, beautiful day, isn't it?
Right, just something simple.
It can really boost your confidence.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's a great way to step outside of your comfort zone and practice your speaking skills in a real-world setting.
And you might even make a new friend.
You never know. And if you don't have anyone to practice with in person, you can always use technology.
Oh, yeah.
There are tons of language exchange apps and websites that connect you with other English learners from all over the world.
Exactly.
So you can have virtual conversations, language practice sessions, even cultural exchanges.
It's amazing.
It really is. Technology has completely changed how we learn languages.
Yeah, for the better, I think.
It really has. It's incredible that we can connect with people from all over the globe.
From anywhere.
And practice speaking English right from our own homes.
And if you prefer a more solitary approach, you can always record yourself speaking in English.
Okay.
And then listen back to it to see what you can improve.
That's a great idea.
It's a good way to become more aware of your own speaking habits.
Right.
Find those areas that need a little work. And track your progress over time.
So you can really see how far you've come.
You can even try shadowing your own recordings.
Okay.
To focus on your intonation and your rhythm.
Right.
To really improve your fluency and sound more natural.
So it's all about finding what works best for you.
Exactly.
And making speaking practice a regular part of your routine.
Consistency is key.
You know, we've talked about a lot of techniques and strategies to help you overcome that fear of speaking and really boost your fluency.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to think about the why behind your desire to speak English.
Right.
You know, having a clear sense of purpose can be really motivating.
Yes, definitely.
Especially when you face those inevitable challenges and setbacks along the way.
Absolutely. It's like going on a long journey.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you're going,
Yeah.
you might wander around aimlessly
Right.
and lose motivation.
Yeah.
But if you have a clear destination in mind,
Right.
it's easier to stay focused
Yeah.
and keep going even when things get tough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So take some time to reflect on your personal reasons
Yeah.
for wanting to speak English fluently.
What are your goals?
Yeah. Is it to travel the world with more confidence?
Yeah.
To connect with people from different cultures?
Mm.
To advance your career?
To study abroad.
To study abroad?
Yeah.
Or maybe just to enjoy English language movies and music more fully?
All good reasons.
Yeah. Whatever your reasons are, hold on to them.
Write them down.
Yeah. Write them down. Create a vision board.
Yeah.
Just remind yourself of them daily. Let your purpose fuel your passion for learning
Yes.
and keep you moving forward, even when it gets tough.
It's like having a compass
Yes.
that's guiding you in the right direction.
Exactly. Even when you're surrounded by all those grammar rules and vocabulary challenges,
It can feel like a jungle sometimes.
it really can. And speaking of challenges, I think it's important to address this common obstacle
Okay.
that a lot of language learners face, the dreaded perfectionism trap.
Oh, yes. The pursuit of perfect grammar. Impeccable pronunciation.
That quest to sound exactly like a native speaker.
It's a tempting trap to fall into,
It is.
but it can really hold you back.
Yeah. Because when we set these unrealistic expectations for ourselves,
Yeah,
we often end up feeling discouraged and frustrated,
for sure.
and sometimes even paralyzed by the fear of making mistakes.
You're afraid to even open your mouth.
Right. And let's face it, even native English speakers don't speak perfectly all the time.
Oh, absolutely not.
They make grammatical errors.
All the time.
They mispronounce words.
We all do it.
They hesitate. They stumble.
It's natural.
And sometimes they even make up their own words.
It's how language evolves.
Right. It's all part of the natural flow of communication.
Exactly. Language is a living, breathing thing.
I like that.
It's constantly evolving.
Yeah, it's not about achieving some impossible standard of perfection.
No.
It's about using language as a tool
Yeah.
for connection, expression,
Creativity.
creativity.
Think about some of the most engaging speakers you've heard. Were they necessarily native English speakers
Yes.
with perfect grammar and pronunciation?
Probably not.
Or were they just passionate, engaging,
Right.
authentic people who
Yeah.
had something interesting to say?
Exactly. I've been to so many presentations and lectures
Me too.
where the speaker's English wasn't perfect,
Yeah.
but their passion, their knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and their genuine desire to connect with the audience
Right.
just shone through.
It made their message so much more powerful.
Yes. It's a good reminder that communication really transcends those language barriers.
Absolutely.
So instead of striving for unattainable perfection,
Right.
focus on clarity,
Mhm.
expressiveness,
Engagement.
engagement. Let your personality come through.
Yes.
Embrace your own unique voice.
Be yourself.
And don't be afraid to experiment with language,
Have fun with it.
right? Remember, the goal of language learning is not to become a robot
No.
that produces perfect speech.
It's about becoming a confident communicator
Right.
who can express their thoughts effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So give yourself permission to be imperfect,
Yes.
to make mistakes,
To stumble.
and to learn from those experiences.
Yeah, it's like learning to play a musical instrument.
It is.
At first, you're going to hit some wrong notes.
Yeah.
Your fingers might fumble.
Mm.
The melody might sound a little off.
It takes time.
It does.
Yeah.
But with practice and patience
Yeah.
and that willingness to embrace those imperfections, you'll gradually develop your skills.
You'll get there.
You'll refine your technique,
Yeah.
and eventually you'll create beautiful music.
And it's the same with speaking English.
Right.
Embrace those early stumbles,
Yeah.
the hesitations, the imperfect pronunciation.
See them as stepping stones
Yeah.
on your path to fluency.
Every mistake is an opportunity to learn
Exactly.
and to grow.
To refine your skills.
So as we wrap up today's episode,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
The journey to fluency, it's not a sprint.
No. It's a marathon. It takes time and dedication.
It does. There will be times when you get frustrated.
Yeah.
Times when you feel like you're not making any progress.
You'll hit plateaus.
Yeah, you'll hit plateaus.
Yeah.
And there might even be a few detours along the way.
That's part of the journey.
It is. But the most important thing
Yeah.
is to just keep moving forward,
One step at a time.
one step at a time. Even if it's just a small step,
You'll get there.
celebrate those small victories.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the progress you've made.
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah. And most importantly, remember why you started this journey in the first place.
Don't forget your why.
Right. And remember, we're here to support you.
Every step of the way.
Every step of the way. Keep practicing. Keep experimenting. And keep embracing the joy of learning English.
That's what it's all about.
That's all for today's episode of English Podcast Flow.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you found these tips and insights helpful
Yeah.
on your journey to spoken English fluency.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, for more episodes filled with practical advice, fun exercises,
And inspiring stories.
and inspiring stories from English learners all over the world.
Until next time.
Keep practicing, keep learning.
And keep flowing.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. It really helps our channel grow and reach more English learners like you. By subscribing, you'll never miss a new episode, and by liking the video, you're letting us know you want more helpful content. Thank you for your support. It means so much to us. Let's keep learning and flowing together.